Fever go down to the Mystics in a roller coaster of a game. I don't think I've been this emotional over a game. Well, you know what? Probably my top 5 most emotional games. But the Fever started out with a banger, then slid down some sort of mudslide or something, clawed their way back up, blew this, amazed me there. But I will say one thing. I wasn't bored.
Caitlin Clark just did something that will live in WNBA history forever. And yet Indiana walked out of that building with nothing. A jaw-dropping, game-tying three-pointer with 1.7 seconds left in regulation, 32 points, 8 assists, and the Fever still lost. But the moment that has the entire basketball world holding its breath has nothing to do with the scoreboard. Aliyah Boston walked off that court grabbing her lower leg, and nobody in that building knew if they'd ever see her and Clark play together again at full strength. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly how deep this goes, and why what happened inside that Indiana Fever locker room after the final buzzer could change the entire trajectory of their 2026 season. Let me set the scene. May 15th, 2026. The Indiana Fever hosting the Washington Mystics. This was supposed to be a statement game, a chance for Indiana to prove that this year's roster is different, that the pieces around Caitlin Clark have grown, that they can compete at the highest level without relying solely on number 22 to carry everything on her back. For one quarter, it looked exactly like that. The Fever came out locked in, hungry, absolutely dominant, jumping out to a 28-21 first quarter lead. The crowd was electric, the energy was there, and then it all started to unravel.
Clark went out around 4 minutes and 12 seconds in the first. Ty Harris goes in, and that was the beginning of the end. I do not blame anything on any one particular person. I don't fall for the rage bait of anything, but I am gonna call it like I see it. And Caitlin Clark was out. They blew a 13-point lead, fell behind the Washington Mystics, and then for some reason,
the Mystics outscored Indiana 20-9 in the second quarter. Just like that, a Fever team that looked unstoppable in the first quarter was suddenly staring at a halftime deficit of 41-37. The momentum shift was brutal, and what made it worse was that nobody called a timeout to stop the bleeding. Stephanie White has been one of the better coaches in this league, but in those moments when the Mystics went on their run, the lack of a timeout was the kind of decision that cost Indiana dearly, reminiscent of some of the most painful Fever losses from seasons past.
Crawled back from a 13-point deficit to within 1 point, I believe at the end of the first quarter, something near there, and there was not a timeout called when there was a clear momentum shift. It kind of reminded me of in 2024 when Christy Sides was the coach of the Indiana Fever, and she was a first-year coach in the WNBA, and her timing at calling timeouts, let's just say she had a lot to learn. And Stephanie White, with her experience, I would have thought that she...
If you're enjoying this breakdown, smash that like button. It really helps the channel. The second half got worse before it got better. Washington extended their lead to 14 points. 14. The Fever looked cooked, and that is when Caitlin Clark decided she had seen enough.
Took that energy and they ran with it. And there has been a lot of talk about the Indiana Fever not getting enough bigs this season, and in this game, it very much was exposed. Shakira Austin had no problem getting around almost everybody. Now, I will say, a few games ago, I was looking at Shakira Austin and I was thinking, this is your year. The way that she moves more like a guard than she ever has. She does Euros. She does spin move fadeaways.
She scored 17 of her 32 points in the fourth quarter alone. 17 in one quarter. For context, that is more than most players score in an entire game. Clark finished the night with a stat line that looked like a video game. 32 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, 7 of 17 from three-point range, 5 of 5 from the free throw line. And the shot that stopped time? A three-pointer with 1.7 seconds left in regulation off a perfectly drawn-up play draining it through the net to tie the game at 89 all and force overtime. The arena went absolutely insane.
In the final seconds of the fourth quarter, the Indiana Fever write up a play, get it to Caitlin, who hits a three in the clutchest of moments.
The Mitchell Willett D. Clark. Cunningham looking, first to times Allen, hand off Clark for the tie, yes! Caitlin Clark has tied.
But here is where the story gets complicated. Here is the part that nobody wants to talk about. Because while Clark was doing the impossible in the fourth quarter, Aliyah Boston was already on the bench in street clothes. Boston had exited the game in the third quarter with 2 minutes and 1 second remaining, grabbing her lower right leg, visibly in pain. She had been playing solid basketball. 9 points before the injury. And then she was gone. The training staff was at her side immediately. The arena went silent in a way that only happens when something feels serious. After the game, head coach Stephanie White did her best to manage expectations while managing her own fear. We are being cautious. Day to day. That was the official word. But she also said something that revealed a lot more. Aliyah's health is obviously a priority. We are not going to rush her back. 2 statements that sound like calm, measured responses, but when you read between the lines, you understand the weight of what is sitting behind them. And Caitlin Clark, to her credit, did not sugarcoat it in the post-game presser. She said, quote, "Obviously Aliyah provides a lot to this team, so everybody's got to step up. Obviously those are big shoes to fill." That is Clark being as honest as she has ever been about how much Boston means to this team and how exposed Indiana is without her interior presence. Now, here is the part that nobody is talking about. Boston's injury history is not a clean slate. Earlier this year, during the 2026 unrivaled season, she dealt with a lower leg injury, a reported meniscus issue that caused her to miss FIBA World Cup qualifying. The same lower leg. The same area she was grabbing on May 15th. Whether this new injury is a recurrence of that same issue or something entirely separate is information that the Fever have not confirmed publicly. But the pattern is concerning enough to warrant serious attention.
And from people you would never think, like Kelsey Mitchell and Mo Billings. Mo Billings has to get better at the layups. I've given her a few games, and now I think I have to call it out because the layups that Mo Billings is missing are not contested layups. They are not hard layups. They are not escaping difficult defenders. They are wide open layups. There was a dime thrown by Caitlin to Mo Billings, and yes, those kind of take a little bit of time to maybe get used to, but in the moments where your team really needs the momentum from the crowd.
What makes this even more significant is what was at stake statistically for Boston before she went down. She had been averaging 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists per game in 2026. In 2025, the best season of her career, she posted 15 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 3.7 assists per game, earning All-WNBA Second Team and All-WNBA Defensive Second Team honors. She is a 3-time All-Star.
Did step up. She played hard defense on Kiki in the middle of the fourth quarter when it was a 1-point game, getting the ball away from Kiki over to Caitlin, putting the Indiana Fever up after she sank the 3.
Thought about the 3, circles around, fires away.
And with less than a minute left when the score was 87-81, Myisha Hines-Allen runs all the way down the court, disrupts what should have been an easy layup to get the ball to Caitlin, who gets it to Kelsey for a 3, keeping Indiana in the game. And
she was the Rookie of the Year in 2023, and before this injury, she had played in 127 consecutive WNBA regular season games, her entire professional career without missing a single one. 127 straight games. Then the Mystics game. Then the May 17th game against the Seattle Storm. And Aliyah Boston was not in the lineup for the first time in her WNBA career. The first time since she was drafted in 2023, Aliyah Boston sat out a regular season game. The interior implications are massive. Without Boston anchoring the front court, Myisha Hines-Allen stepped into the starting lineup. And while Hines-Allen is a capable player, she is not Aliyah Boston. Nobody in that front court is. Shakira Austin of the Mystics exploited this aggressively, posting up, spinning, using her improved footwork to score at will on Indiana's depleted interior defense. Austin was a matchup nightmare all night, and that problem only gets worse if Boston misses extended time. Mo Billings has also been placed under a microscope. The missed layups are no longer something that can be overlooked. These are not contested layups. These are not shots under duress. Wide open opportunities off Caitlin Clark's pinpoint dimes. Missed. In moments when the crowd needed a spark, when momentum was hanging in the balance, Billings left points on the floor that Indiana could not afford to give away. And then there was the overtime collapse. Clark and the Fever had done the impossible to get there. Lexi Hull hit a critical three-pointer in overtime to pull Indiana within 1 point. 1 point. But Sonia Citron, who finished with 30 points, knocked down the free throws that sealed it for Washington. Final score, Washington. Mystics 104, Indiana Fever 102. After everything Clark gave them, after every ounce of energy and will was poured into that fourth quarter, it was not enough. Now here is the real question that the entire WNBA world is asking. What happens to Indiana's championship aspirations if Aliyah Boston is out for a significant stretch? This team already has documented weaknesses in their front court. They came into the season with questions about front court depth, and those questions went unanswered in the offseason. Caitlin Clark is elite, historically elite, but she cannot guard post players, she cannot rebound at the rate Boston does, and she cannot protect the rim. Without Boston, Indiana's defensive identity takes a serious hit. And if Boston's injury has any connection to that meniscus issue from Unrivaled, if the medical team is being cautious precisely because they are worried about a more serious underlying problem, then day-to-day could become week-to-week faster than anyone is ready to admit. The Fever cannot afford to find out the hard way. Not with the stakes as high as they are in 2026. Not when Clark is playing the basketball of her life. Not when this team has the talent to compete for a championship, but the fragility to fall apart when their interior anchor is unavailable. The clock is ticking. The questions are mounting. And Indiana needs answers before this season slips away. What do you think is the best move for the Indiana Fever going forward? Do they make a move to address their front court depth, or do they trust the players they have to step up while Boston recovers? Let me know down in the comments. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell. We cover every major WNBA story as it breaks, so you never miss a thing. Stay tuned, because the ripple effects of this injury are only just beginning, and you are going to want to hear what comes next.